Russ has more turnovers than touchdown passes. According to Fox Bet, the Seahawks quarterback is third in MVP odds, trailing Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. Well, I got two Fox NFL analysts with me today. LeVar Arrington and his new radio show, and Bucky Brooks. LeVar, let's start with you. Can Russell Wilson get back in the MVP race?
I don't think he's ever been out of the race. Now, I know we look at that 10 interception deal that he's got going on, but we can't base whether he's losing out on the MVP race based off of his interceptions.
Oh, really?
Now,
Really? Oh, that's news.
Yeah. Because he's got the same record as Aaron Rodgers. You know, Pat Mahomes is ahead in the wins column. But here's what's an interesting stat about Russell Wilson right now. Even though he's got more interceptions, he's got a higher completion rate than Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. That should be noted, okay? The yardage it's comparable. So to me, listen, we're not saying is he going to win the MVP battle. We're saying, can he get back into the MVP race? I'd say he has not been out of the race. It's going to take a champion's effort with no room for error for him to be able to actually win it. You know, like your boy in Dumb and Dumber, he asked, did he have a chance with the girl? And she said, 1 in a million. But there's a chance. That's what I'm going with.
You know damn well there's not even a chance. I'm going to cut you off because there's no way. Whenever you lead with my ammunition, which is the interceptions, those 3 games and the turnovers, you know that you've lost this argument. Don't try to Eminem 8 Mile me and give me all the ammunition and then say, now what you going to say? Oh, I'm going to say a lot more than just that. Look, I predicted this. Unfortunately, I said Russell Wilson will start fast and finish, he going to start hot, finish lukewarm. And that's what's happened once again, unfortunately, for Russell Wilson. How quickly the world turns. Y'all remember early in the season, they were 5-0, and Russell Wilson was on pace to set NFL passing records. And everybody's like, finally, is he going to win MVP? He's certainly going to get a bunch of votes. Nah, he's the front runner to win the MVP. Let's flip it to today's reality. Remember Russell Wilson was out there saying, nah, I don't want to vote. More importantly, I want to win it all. Oh, Russell, don't you wish you could have yesterday back? Because now, not only are you not going to win it all, you might not even get a vote. We all know Patrick Mahomes right now is in the driver's seat. Right there, shotgun, is Aaron Rodgers. Russell Wilson is either in the back seat or in the trunk right now, getting pulled as he knows that this is slipping away from him. He doesn't lead in any major statistical category that's necessary for him to win the MVP. And if you want to break that down, what does that mean? When's the last time we saw a quarterback win an MVP without leading in any statistical category? 1987. What happened in 1987? Oh, that was one of those weird strike years, and we saw replacement players for like part of the season right there. So other than that, as being an asterisk type of year, when have we seen that happen from an NFL quarterback winning the MVP? We haven't. So Russell Wilson has put himself in this bind because of the turnovers, because of those losses and the turnovers in those games that caused those same losses. I don't see how he catches up ground between him, Patrick Mahomes, or Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I agree with you, Marcellus. I think it's a done deal for Russell Wilson. I know everyone in the Pacific Northwest was screaming for let Russ cook. They wanted to see the ball in his hands. They wanted to throw it all over the yard. And what we saw is the more that he throws it, the worse that it is for their team. Not because of Russ himself, just because of the way this team is constructed. They have a certain blueprint and formula that works for them. It's about the running game, the defense, and then Russ making plays when he has to make them in the end. Those 3 losses, I think, come back to hurt him in the MVP race. In those 3 losses, 5 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. In each of those losses, he had a sub-100 passer rating. And so when we've seen the other guys, Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes, have to put it all on their shoulders, they've thrived and they've been able to do it without giving the ball away. Because of that, those guys are well ahead of Russ. Russ will lead his team into the playoffs, but it won't be any individual hardware coming Russ's way.
But yeah, Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson have the same exact record at this point during the course of the year. Here's an interesting deal. You threw off and rattled off all them stats, Marcellus, which I know Columbia, you're so good at doing it. You do so well with it.
Thank you, Andy.
And from the analytical standpoint of it, Bucky is like, there's none like Bucky. You can't compare to Bucky on talking about the analytics of a guy, right? So your arguments seem so amazing. But when you really think about it, we're not comparing stats to say who is the most valuable guy for the league. We're saying who is the most valuable player to their team. And when I look at what's going on right now, we're basing all of these things off of stats, and it shouldn't be based off of stats. When you look at his stat line, his passer rating, he's in the top 5. He's number 4. When you look at his completion percentage, he's number 2. Number 5, number 4, you can go down the list of all these different things that his categories where he's top 5. You don't have to be number 1. We don't have to debate who is the best player. We're debating who is Russell Wilson in the race for being the most valuable player. His value should not be weighted and based off of purely stat-driven information. It should be driven off of how important he is to his team. And he is very important to the success of the Seattle Seahawks team.
Well, we can't use your premise as our threshold as the way that we view him, because yours is subjective. You're going into, well, how? And that's going to be a up and down response from all different people based on what you see from this team and what you see from other teams. That's why you use stats first. All stats matter because you can go out there and be objective about this. When there's a competition, we start with the stats to see who we can separate from the pack. Then after the stats, we can get into story. We can get into conjecture. We can get into what you want to talk about and subjective experiences. But I like to stay with the objective material right here. You say, well, Russell Wilson doesn't have to be number 1 in any of these categories. Okay, I give you that. 14 different quarterbacks since John Elway in 1987 have been named MVP. And all of them had led at least one major statistical category. So you're right, you don't have to, but you got to go all the way back to 1987 to even find that as a consideration. That's not happening this year. Let's talk about his 3 losses in which he had turned the ball over 3+ times. No MVP quarterback has done that since 1995 and Brett Favre. I just think that the league looks at possessions and how you take care of the football a lot different now than it did before. So now you want to go into, well, he's not leading number 1, but he's the most valuable on his team. Okay, I got another nugget for that. See, I know who I'm working with, LeVar. Over the past 7 seasons, 7 different quarterbacks have won MVP. Okay, Russ could be number 8. Oh, and they've combined for 1 loss in which they turned the ball over 3 times. 7 of them, only 1. Russell has 3 by himself this year. How in the hell is he going to win an MVP?
There's still 5 games left, guys.
He can't.
He can't win it.
Games
he
left.
can't win it.
It's a wrap.
And I think, and I know LeVar understands this being a very successful high school head coach. When your coach comes out and says,
very successful.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
He's 500. He's 500, Bucky.
Above 500. I'm not at 500. I'm above.
This year, whenever we play this year, it's going to be great for him. So that's why. So I'm gonna give him the. I'm gonna go ahead and give it to him now. It's about to be on the horizon. But Pete Carroll said we got to get to running the ball. Can you ever imagine Andy Reid or Matt LaFleur going and standing in front of the room and saying, "Hey, Aaron, Pat Mahomes, you guys are great, but we need to run the ball for us to win." It doesn't happen. Pete Carroll is telling us what we need to know. As much as we on the outside may want Russ to cook, Pete Carroll knows that the way for his team to win is for Russ to hand the ball off. That's why the Seattle Seahawks are doing it, and that's also why they're back in the driver's seat in the NFC West.
See, I would disagree with that. I think you definitely need to have a running attack in Green Bay and in Kansas City. And the reason why, especially in the AFC, if you can't run the ball, you cannot win the AFC. Pilar is running the ball well enough, effectively enough, to keep those defenses, keep them honest. And if you're going to get into the playoffs and have success, and be clear, that it almost costed them winning the Super Bowl not having an efficient running attack. So I don't want to get too far out in that water and say that, oh, Aaron Rodgers doesn't need Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones might be the most entertaining, electrifying running back in the National Football League right now. Don't talk to me about not having somebody in that backfield, because Aaron Rodgers has Aaron Jones, and you got Hillar in Kansas City, and they tried to bring in what's his name, Le'Veon Bell,
Oh, that ain't work.
so that they could try to bolster their backfield.
Yuck.
But they did it for a reason, Marcellus. Whether it worked or not, they did it because they felt there was a need. So I don't buy that logic.
Well, by this logic that in Seattle, that Pete Carroll is going to try and balance out this attack because he knows, hey, that individual award looks good, Russ, but what you missing? Nothing. You never had it before. You never even had a vote before, so shut that up. Let's talk about the team goals and how we can balance out our attack with a healthy Carlos Hyde and a healthy Chris Carson. Now we're going to have some balance to this because that's the best formula for our success. So I'm looking at Russell Wilson like, hey, man, I'm sorry. I try to tell you, you start off at this historic pace, and you've done it before. But somehow